Hi guys. Before I start, I would like to say that the content of this video also exists in German and in Arabic. I'll put the links in the description of the video below, uh, if anyone needs it. And now I'll get to my point. I'm sorry that the camera is all shaking and everything, and that the quality is very bad, but I'm using my laptop's camera. So, anyways, my name is Tarek. I'm 22 years old. I'm Syrian, and I live in Germany for 2 years now. Uh, and I'm making this video right now because I want to bury this subject into 2022 and like keep it there forever, hopefully. And also mainly because I I know that this video has helped me when I needed them, so I hope it will help someone who might need them for any giving reason. So I'll just get to the point now. So my subject right now, the things I want to talk about is my experience with a mental disorder I had for almost like 6 months. A mental disorder called depersonalization and derealization, something that clearly isn't very known, I guess. Um, and I mean, the only reason you might be watching this video either is because you have it, which I'm really sorry if you do, or because you're curious, which I doubt, or because you know me. But anyways, um, I'm gonna explain a little bit how my experience, what I went through, and how I was able to kind of get out of it. And yeah, I guess for now that's it. I mean, I don't think I will answer so many comments if I get any comments on this video because I really don't want to revisit this subject any more than I have to, but I'm just putting it out there for anyone who needs to hear this. So I'm gonna start with how it all began. Once I was back around April, beginning of April. No, I'm sorry, mid-March. I was sleeping in my room just like every other day. It was a completely normal day. I was out with friends and I came back. I watched my TV show, and I fell asleep. I Then suddenly, like a few minutes later, in the middle of the night, I woke up for God knows what reason. And I woke up so terrified, so scared because I suddenly felt like I was disconnected from reality as good as I can describe it. I simply felt like I was not there. Like I was simply like watching myself somehow doing stuff or being alive, like so aware of me being alive, like completely disconnected from reality. That's the best way I can say it. I didn't understand what that was happening. I was so terrified. I went to the bathroom, I washed my face, I went to the balcony to get some fresh air in case it helps. Nothing really helped. It just I kept having this weird feeling. I was thinking about either calling my like it got so bad. I got so scared and so terrified that I literally thought about calling the hospital for help or at least calling my sister. But even I couldn't do that because like I don't know, my phone started not making sense. Life started not making sense. It was I don't know, it was so weird. So I just lied down back in bed and forced myself to sleep it off somehow. I fell asleep again. I managed, and I woke up the next day feeling a little weird. Like I told my sister what happened, and it was basically not much. I just felt weird the next day, but it was nothing. And then I forgot about that the whole thing. Then I moved on simply, but I guess I still had the experience in my mind. Um, I A few days later or a few weeks later, in the beginning of April, I came back from a trip in Berlin, and for some reason I started getting dizzy. And with this dizziness, this feeling of disconnection came back a little bit. I started feeling again like I'm not here in a way or another. And I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. This like evolved like this small feeling. It started as a really small feeling, and it just evolved and evolved and evolved into something bigger and bigger and bigger and scarier and worse. It just kept getting worse and worse and consuming me completely. I would like to note, by the way, before I continue, that when it happened to me, I was living my best life. I was living the best time of my life. I had absolutely no problems. Everything was going exactly the way I always dreamed about it. I was simply happy. Um, uh, yeah. So my point of this is like, of course, I'm speaking of my experience, but what I'm saying is that it didn't happen for a reason I know, because as far as I know, I was really happy at that point of my life. But anyways, of course, during the time that this started getting worse, I Googled a lot, as anyone would. I Googled exactly what this could be, and I started reading the words depersonalization and derealization, and it started like I started relating to everything I read about depersonalization and derealization, uh, and eventually, like after this started getting really bad, I booked an appointment with a therapist near to where I live, and I went to therapy, and she confirmed that what you're feeling is indeed the personalization and the realization of. But to make it clear, I'll first go through the symptoms that I felt. I mean, to be clear, I had like every single day a new symptom. I went through all kinds of symptoms you could imagine. Every single day I would have something new and terrifying and something I had to explore. I had thousands of symptoms. So, but I'm just gonna try to recall the main ones, I guess. So, the main thing, of course, that everyone would know about this if you experience it is the disconnection from reality. That you don't feel real. Nothing around you feel real. It just all feels fake in a way or another. It just you're not like you're completely disconnected from reality. And when you're disconnected from reality, nothing will make sense anymore. It's just going to be completely not real. Everything's going to feel imaginary. Everything's going to be feel fake. Second thing is I always in like a dream-like kind of state, in a way that I always felt like I was living in a dream. Like I was dreaming the whole thing. Every single thing about my life, I was just dreaming it. It was not real. Um, I had a lot of existential troubles, existential crises, and existential thoughts, existential dread as well. I was just pondering over my existence, like why the hell I exist? What does it mean to exist? What does it even make sense that I exist? Do I even exist? Every single thing about that just took over me so much. Um, I guess I like sometimes my vision would get like kind of blurry or kind of too concentrated in a way or another. Like it could also affect vision a little bit in a way or another. Um, Moreover, I guess I started like, for example, looking in the mirror and I couldn't recognize that person that's looking back. It's like I couldn't recognize myself, or it's like I'm looking at someone else. I wasn't really looking at myself. I didn't know what myself is anymore. I felt in danger the whole time. Like I couldn't, like it felt like something bad's gonna happen the whole time. Like existence is gonna fall apart. Like I'm gonna not even die. I can't use the word die because I didn't really feel like I was gonna die. I just felt like I was like existence not gonna make sense anymore, or like I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I definitely felt like I was going crazy. That's for sure. I always kept thinking I'm definitely going crazy. I, of course, thought I was developing schizophrenia. I thought I was developing dementia. I thought I was developing all kinds of diseases. Like, I just went through all the worst possible outcomes of what this could be happening. I just really convinced myself I was going crazy. And like every time I would try to make sense of it, it just kept getting worse. Like every time I tried to understand it, it would just kept questioning me and kept testing me of how like my mind just kept asking me, what if it really isn't real? What if it like actually everything is fake? What if you don't exist. And it just, I tried to keep making sense of all these questions and all these wonders, and I never could. And it really just, it's a loop where you only get worse and worse and worse, and you can't stop it because you can't ignore it, because like it's based on your whole existence. It doesn't really, it's not depending on something else, so you can't really stop it. It's a loop of thinking that you can't get out of. And at some point, it doesn't even become thinking. It just feels like it becomes your whole existence in a way or another. Like I couldn't recognize, is this a thought that I'm thinking, or is this something really applying to me from what I'm sensing from the outside world? So I really couldn't recognize the difference anymore. But anyways, I'm just trying to remember what other symptoms I had, what other million symptoms I had. People around me started, even the people I know started feeling distant, unreal as well, of course. They started to feel like maybe robots or just a figment of my imagination. Like I was imagining everything around me, like it's not even there. The people I recognized, my sister, my parents, they all became. I was even more afraid to talk to them because they felt like they're strangers or they're not real. So it was so scary. Like the people I always got used to, they became unreal. Everything I got ever used to in my life became unreal. And of course, like maybe for someone who's not going through this, this may sound like not so bad, but I can promise you it is the most absolute terrifying feeling you could ever go through. It's scary in a way that you only read in horror stories. It's some nightmare kind of material. Things you would never want or imagine to go through because you lose connection of everything. You lose connection of yourself and of the things around you, which is basically, to be clear, to differentiate, depersonalization is the disconnection that you get from yourself, that you don't recognize yourself anymore, and derealization is that you disconnect from your surroundings and the world around you. And they normally come together, like they rarely come separated. And I clearly had both. Um, I've started having these like very weird theories of why I exist and how I exist. And they were all so terrifying and they were so scary. And of course, I tried not to think about it. I tried to ignore it, but it just wouldn't work. I couldn't force myself to stop thinking about it because it just nothing else matters at this point. And, like even like to be honest, death wasn't as scary as what was happening to me. I wasn't afraid to die. I was just afraid of not existing. And there's a difference that I never knew I could exist, that exists at all, but it does, and it's horrible. And like it became, I was not afraid of anything anymore. Nothing was worth being afraid of. Not a single disease. I wished I wished I had another disease at the moment, of course, not anymore, but I wished back then that I would have any other disease to justify what was happening to me, because anything is better than what I was going through. At some point, of course, I couldn't take it anymore. It was way too much to think of. I felt like too little for this. It was too much. So I did have a few suicidal thoughts, to be honest. I did get to that point, if anyone's wondering, but not anymore. I'm definitely fine now. But back then it was that bad. And even like of course I was so afraid to do it just because existence itself is so terrifying, so I wasn't willing to even explore further of what would happen. So it's just a state of terror that you constantly have to live through. And by the way, I went this like these feelings and these thoughts were something I was going through every single second of every single day. I didn't get a single second of ease. I would, from the moment I wake up to the moment I sleep, I was terrified to go to sleep because while I was falling asleep, it was so bad because, like, while I was falling asleep, you kind of go into the state of consciousness and unconsciousness, like, in order to fall asleep. And that would even mess things up even more. When I wake up, I would dread the moment that I woke up just because of how scary I knew that my day will be. So it just put me in a huge existential disaster. And as I said, it's a loop that you really can't get out of. And I guess those are just some of the symptoms because, as I said, there are millions of symptoms that I went through, and I can't even remember how many anymore. I can't even remember exactly what they are, but these ones were the most like, oh, time. Time started feeling very weird to me. I felt like I was frozen in time in a way or another. Like I didn't get what time is in, like I started sensing time in a way or another, and I felt like I was frozen in it. It's really complicated to explain unless you're feeling this, but just even time started stopped making sense. Like the moral of the story is you would become terrified of existing. You're terrified of everything being real or unreal, or you lose definition, you lose sense of what the word real means. What is something to be real? And I think I'm gonna stop with the symptoms here because for now that's enough. But trust me, whatever if you have this and you're watching this, whatever symptom you do have, I've had it. I promise you, I went through every single thought, every single feeling you have, whatever you went through. I analyzed every single one of them. So do not feel that you're alone. Do not feel that you're the only one who went through. And I know this is sometimes also hard to get because another symptom is when I heard other people talking or saying what I'm saying right now, I would think that those people aren't real. Why should I believe them or why should their words make sense to me? Because these people are just a figment of my imagination. So even if you hear me say this and you don't believe it, it's still doing something. It's still you making an effort. And try to realize, even if I don't feel real to you, try to realize that I went through this as well. I went through every single step of it. And so, after my whole research, not only me, but so did hundreds and thousands and millions of other people. You're definitely not alone in this. Now, to get to the important stuff, see all those symptoms I mentioned, as well as whatever else you are facing in your experience. None of them matter. They're all unimportant. Whatever it is you go through, whatever thoughts, dark feelings, dark thoughts you're going through, they do not matter. Do not try to analyze every single symptom by itself and try to solve it because that's what I did. I every day I would wake up and I would identify, oh, today's worst symptom is this. Today's worst symptom is this. I tried to think, I am getting worse. Am I getting better? For example, I would deal with the symptom, another symptom would come up. So if you try to analyze and solve every single symptom by itself, you won't stop. It's a never-ending loop. The symptoms never end. The symptoms never stop, never end, and you're gonna keep getting new ones every single moment. So there is no use of trying to stop the symptoms. What you're gonna do is gonna look back at the bigger image and try to solve that. Because like looking into the symptoms and the details is not gonna bring you anything. What you're gonna have to do is like first of all, understand what depersonalization, derealization is. By the way, to make it clear, my my healing journey, let's say, was consistent of therapy. I went to therapy, and I started taking antidepressants at some point, and I also bought Sean Connor's DP manual, depersonalization manual, which I have to admit, of course, it helped as well. So it's worth a shot if you are able to buy it. But still, all these three stuff. I mean, I stopped therapy now, by the way. I'm not going anymore, and I'm still taking antidepressants. But all these three stuff, I do not believe they are what helped me out of this. I am what helped me out of this. Like no one is gonna pull you out of this. Not a single person out there, not a single medicine out there, nothing. You are gonna pull yourself out of this, and no one else. So it is within you. Just make sure you realize that. Anyways, so with therapy, with antidepressants, after reading the DP manual, here's what everything I gathered about this whole bad situation. Depersonalization and derealization are simply nothing more than anxiety. They are only anxiety. Every single symptom you feel, whatever it is, whatever how messed up it is, how unlogical it is nothing more than anxiety and a form of anxiety because anxiety has millions and millions and millions of forms. One of them is what you're feeling right now. So you have to make sure you understand that what you're feeling is nothing universal or nothing in existence, nothing wrong in existence itself, nothing wrong in you or your mind, or you're definitely not going crazy. Absolutely nothing is wrong with anything except that you have anxiety. And what you're feeling is anxiety, period. And I include every symptom, whatever you're feeling. You're feeling like you're going crazy, anxiety. You're feeling like existence is gonna fall apart, anxiety. You feel like nothing is real anymore. That's just anxiety. It's nothing more. And so once you realize that, at least maybe it'll bring you to ease a little bit. But it's the first thing you have to do. And where is this anxiety coming from? Your anxiety is coming from a cycle of thought, a loop of thought. It's like your mind first started experiencing depersonalization, derealization for whatever reason that is, and I'll talk about the reason soon. And then your mind created a habit of thinking and analyzing everything around it. So your mind started analyzing, is this real? Is this not real? Does this make sense? Does this not make sense? Your mind had created a habit of thinking. It just created a habit of focusing and analyzing every single thing around you and in yourself as well. And this results in the feeling you're feeling. And this loop of thinking, this habit of thinking, is a result of anxiety and nothing more. And that's all what depersonalization and derealization is. It's a habit of thinking, a habit that you have to break. Just like all bad habits, like smoking, like whatever you do, bad habits can be stopped and they're difficult, but they can be stopped. It's a habit that you simply have to stop, a habit of thinking, which not so many people go through. That's why it's not so spoken of. Uh, the little break I want to talk about is reasons. The reasons depersonalization happens. Because what causes this anxiety that you're feeling? Um, Normally, depersonalization is caused either because of misuse of drugs like weed, ecstasy, and a whole other drugs. Like any kind of drug can trigger this. So if you do take drugs, please watch out for this and make sure you take it responsibly. Another very main reason is trauma, trauma that you haven't dealt with, trauma that you've been through in the past, trauma that you've now recently went through. This also triggers depersonalization, derealization, and finally, in my case, nothing. Simply nothing. Depersonalization, derealization can come from absolutely nothing. You can live in peace, and one day or the next day you would have DPDR for whatever reason it is. Also, something I would not necessarily focus about, but still, it's worth mentioning. Like I wouldn't personally look for the reasons, but like because what's important is dealing with what you have now. Like it's solving what you have now rather than going to the past. Or but still, of course, because like a lot of people will discuss that solving your past trauma will definitely fix you now, and I totally agree with that. So if you do have something that you feel you have to solve, go seek help, go seek therapy, work with it, work on solving that trauma, because of course it will help you a lot to come over through this. But I'm just speaking from my experience. And after saying the reasons, as I said, you now should understand what depersonalization is. Now I'll try to go through what helped me get out of it. After realizing that it's a habit of thought, you have to realize now, how should I break this habit of thought? How can I do that? And this is done by little small steps that you do every day, or like small things that you have to watch out for. First of all, oh, by the way, I have to mention that during my Googling time, of course, every single day I would Google whatever I was feeling. I would just go through Google and try to find out if it makes sense. And of course, I found so many people that will relate to this. I saw many YouTube videos, some of them positive, some of them negative. Some people saying I've been through this for 50 years now. Others saying I've had it for 3 months. I've read every single thing you can think about. I've like searched and researched for every point of it. But that yeah, and I've reached a forum where people, it's called the DP help, where people just share what they're feeling at the day, share their problems, think, see if anyone would relate to them. I found this forum, and every hour, every few minutes, I would open the forum, I would refresh and read what people are writing about this. I would go through, like, my mind was desperately trying to relate to anyone else, even though my mind even was, like, it's even a paradox because my mind was telling me none of these people are real, but at the same time, you have to relate to them. So it's nothing of it really made sense at the point. But still, I had to open the forums I was Googling. Another thing I was doing was all the time telling people, like I told my family, I told every single person in my family, I told them about this. All of my friends, every single one I know, even new people, I would meet like a new person. I would introduce myself a little bit. 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, I'm talking about DPDR because I was desperately seeking sympathy as well. I wanted to feel sympathy from other people. I want people to sympathize with me and like maybe someone could help me or whatever. Soon enough, I like after doing my research and reading, as I said, the resources, I I realized that first step to break the habit of thought, as I said, is to stop all of these stuff. Stop Googling, stop the forum, don't open any single forum, stop talking to people about it. Even the people you told about it. Like for example, I told my family after I told them stop asking me how I'm feeling, stop asking me about DPDR, never talk to me about it ever again. And I'm never gonna mention it ever again. I just closed the subject even though when I was meeting my sister, when I was meeting my friends, I was dying to talk about it. I just wanted to talk about it so much, but I stopped myself. I simply resisted talking about it. I just kept telling my mind, "Shut up! We're not gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about anything else, and we're gonna act." I was acting like everything was okay. I was laughing like everything was fine, and like I just didn't focus on it. I know it was always in my mind to talk about it, to think about it, to do whatever, but I forced myself. It's really about forcing yourself. It's very difficult. I know how hard it is. I know how difficult it is. I've been through it all, but you just have to force yourself to not talk about it and not mention it and just force yourself to live like nothing is happening. Even though something is happening, you're feeling something, just live on. Second thing I would do is, and that's very important, always distract your mind. Never give your mind a chance to think about stuff. Remember that your mind is your biggest enemy. That's a very important thing. Your mind is your biggest enemy. It will try to bring you back to this. So uh, always keep your mind distracted. Video games, Instagram Reels, TikTok. I know these things sound normally very unhealthy or whatever, but in this case, you need them. TV. Keep your mind focused and distracted on some other thing. Think about it. Like when you play a video game, just think about exactly what this character is going through. When you watch a TV show, just keep your mind thinking about the plot or whatever. Read a book. Books help a lot. Go to the gym. That's very important. I definitely or like do sports of any kind, not necessarily gym, but do sports because keeping your physical body distracted as well will take over your mind a little bit away from the subject. So do that. Keep on doing sports. And even though I know you are not motivated to do any of these things I mentioned, but force yourself. It's all about forcing yourself and making like it's about showing your mind. It's about forcing your mind to see that nothing is really wrong. Like you're just trying to analyze things even though nothing is wrong. Because like the reason this is happening is because your mind is trying to make sense, which is a normal human brain reaction. It's nothing, yeah, like this is a protective mechanism of your mind. Your mind is trying to protect itself. That's why it's trying to understand what's happening to it. Like I want to understand what's happening to me, so I want to protect myself. That's what your mind is going through, because your brain is something after all you cannot control, and it's and that's why it's doing what it's doing. So it starts analyzing the things around you. It starts analyzing the environment, analyzing the people, and making you think about it a lot, so it could understand what's happening, and so it could protect itself from it. And when it analyzes everything, it starts looking for danger and stuff, and when it cannot find danger, it translates this danger like, okay, I couldn't find danger, so what's wrong? This must mean that those things aren't real. And that's the danger. Like it translates something normal to a danger just because of anxiety. That's all it. But like that's even more for you to try to understand what depersonalization is. Anyways, so as I said, don't mention it, don't Google it, don't research, don't talk about it in any case possible. Try to keep a healthy diet if it works. Try to eat well, wake up, or like don't stay in bed the whole time. Just wake up, do stuff. Try as much as possible to communicate with people, like to go out with friends, go party, go like do wild activities, do everything you can do. I know this doesn't sound so good, but never say no to anything. Whenever a person tells you let's go out, you say yes and you go out. No one is telling you to go out, you start looking for someone to tell you to go out with because human interaction is the best distraction. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. Um, Go out with people, talk to them, and don't mention it when you go out with them. I'm not saying interact so you can complain about this problem about DPDR. No, talk about everything else about what you ate today, about how stupid university is, whatever. Oh, speaking of university, if you have a job, go work and commit yourself to your job. If you have university, study well and keep on studying and distract your mind with the content of whatever you are studying. Go to university, attend lectures, distraction. Soon enough, after you keep on doing that, your mind starts realizing that, like, your mind starts realizing, I don't have to focus on this anymore because I have more important stuff to do. I have this to think about. Like, you force your mind to get out of the habit of thinking into another habit of thinking, which is thinking about important stuff, thinking about stuff that really matter, like family, like work, like university. Like, your mind forgets at some point that there's something going on. You even like after you cross a certain amount of time, you start looking back and thinking, what the hell was I even worried about? Like it doesn't really matter. Um, this process, the process of getting your mind out of this cycle, out of this difficulty, is can take a very long time. It can take days, weeks, months, maybe a year. Who knows? But you will get out of it. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge. Keep repeating to yourself, "I will get out of it. I know that." Um, that's very important. Like it's normal if you take time, if it takes time for you to get out of this habit, because getting out of habits, especially a habit of thinking, is one of the hardest thing ever. Because whenever you tell your mind, "Don't think about that," everyone knows you will think about that specific thing. So it's very difficult to get out of this habit, but it's very possible as well. Just have a lot of patience, a lot of strength, a lot of will, no matter how difficult it is, and keep the acknowledgement that you will get out of this. And if you think about it, normal people, like what we call normal people, do not analyze if they're normal, you know? So, um, so if you keep asking yourself, am I normal today? Am I feeling okay today? Is it over? You're not, you are not gonna get out of it, because if you really want to become normal again, then you have to stop analyzing if you're normal. No, normal people don't analyze if they're normal, you know? So that's why also you have to stop this habit of thinking, as I said. And speaking of this, whenever a bad, like, as I said, distracting yourself is so important, but you also have to focus, like, when do I have to distract myself? The whole day, that's true. But you also specifically have to distract yourself when a bad thought is coming. Like, your mind suddenly pops a question in your mind. Your mind suddenly pops a question, am I real? You instantly grab your phone and open Instagram, talk to a friend, grab a book. Don't start thinking, how should I answer that question? Distract your mind. But you also should do that. That's very important. You also should do that when a good thought comes. What's a good thought? A thought like, oh, today I'm feeling better. So is it over? The question, is it over? Also, do not answer that. Do not analyze that. Also, grab something else, distract your mind. Do not answer the good questions or the bad questions, because it's a habit of thought. As I said, I'm gonna keep on saying that and keep on focusing on that. A habit of thought that's resulted from anxiety. So, in order to break a habit of thought, you have to stop thinking about it at all. Not only about the bad stuff, but about the good stuff as well. So bad thoughts, good thoughts, distract yourself, whatever it is. With time, as I said, your mind starts getting out of it very slowly, and you reach a point where you realize, oh, I continued my life. I moved on, and like I'm not thinking about this anymore. Like you just realize that your life moved on in a way or another, and for example, I'm gonna put myself as an example at the moment. I passed all my exams in university. I continued doing all my things. I met wonderful friends this year. I did so much this year that doesn't bother me anymore. Like it lasted about maybe 6, 7 months, but I stopped counting as well. That's a very important thing. I stopped counting. Oh, it's been 1 month. It's been 2 months. I stopped counting. Don't think about that. Like you don't need a reminder. As soon as you remind yourself about something, it's gonna come back. So don't remind yourself in any way possible. I guess that's mainly what I would have to say about this. Um, to be clear, it's not like I'm 100% over this and like I'm just completely deleted from my mind. It's not about just deleting it, it's about moving on and living on, and that's what I was able to do, and that's what you will be able to do as well. So if you're going through this, realize you're definitely not alone. Thousands and millions of people went through this, got over this, are still going through this, and will get over it. And know that you will be one of those people. It's not gonna last forever. I know your brain is telling you it's gonna last forever and you're never gonna go back and you can't imagine your life as it was. Another symptom, of course, but realize that that's bullshit. That's not true. So, and move on, and you're gonna move on. Um, so do take the first step now. After you finish this video, make your first step, which is make this your last video about DPDR. Make it the last thing you ever read or research about DPDR and never talk about it again. That's it. That was the last thing you're ever gonna have to hear about this. The rest is within you, is within your mind. And you are gonna get out of this. I promise you in every way possible that you are gonna get out of this. It's just within you to do so. I know it's a nightmare. I know how horrible it is. I cannot explain, like I cannot stress enough how much this ruined my life when it happened. How much it put so much pressure on me. How much, as I said, I've reached very dark places. I've got many dark thoughts. I've got to places I things I've never imagined I would think about. So I know how much of a nightmare this is, but here I am making this video where I never imagined I would. I was, as I said, my mind kept telling me you're never gonna get out of this. That's it. Your existence is over. But here I am making this video. So will you be one day. But for now, this is it. That's the last video you should watch about this, or read about this, or know about this. The rest is within you. You know my two advices at this point. You know my experience. I do wish this helped you in a way or another. And as I said, I'm sorry if I do not answer comments, but I like making this video by itself is not the best thing to do because, as I said, the main thing is never to remind yourself about these stuff. But as long as it's helping other people, I am definitely willing to do it. So I really hope it does help you and help other people in need. Um, Otherwise, I wish you all the best on your way of healing and your healing journey. And I'm positive you will get there one day. Just be patient, be strong, and have an amazing year. Bye.